Hi, this is Privateer Station, and today we bring you day 236 of this war in Ukraine with Olexiy Arestovych, Lieutenant Colonel, Advisor to the Office of the President of Ukraine, and Mark Feygin, Russian opposition politician. Today they'll be discussing situation on the fronts, utilization of mobilized resources on the Russian side thrown into the grinder, more drone attacks, and the beginning of a difficult second phase of this war. Enjoy. Dear friends, glad to see you all on Feigin Live. It is Monday, October 17th. Time is 1 minute past 10 in Kiev, and we're starting our usual daily stream, day 236, with Olexiy Arestovich. Good evening, Olexiy. Good evening, Mark. 141,000 are watching us live. 26,000 of you clicked the like button. The usual ask, please share links to the stream in your social media, in your forums, wherever you talk about that. Click the like button, click the bell, subscribe to Feigin Live, to Olexiy Arestovich, and to the Privateer Station if you are listening to or watching that in English. Only about a third of you actually subscribed. It's getting better, but please do not forget to click subscribe button. That definitely helps in distribution. All right. Now with that out of the way, we skipped one day, Sunday. We probably have some news over the last couple of days, so those who are expecting me to feel sick still, that train has left. I'm already good. Look at me now. Thank you for care, those who expressed that. And let's start with the front. Let's start with the front line, Olexiy. It's all yours. We have activities in the same areas of the front, with generally same trends. Now, if you look near Kremenaya, there are two arrows at the bottom of this map on the right side. They were unsuccessful. To understand what they are is basically Russian side sending a bunch of mobilized people onto our machine guns. Are these mobilized indeed? Can we verify that? Oh, there is a ton of them, yeah. There definitely are mobilized. They're everywhere. You can see them in every direction now. Bakhmut is an interesting topic, though. So, on the north of Bakhmut, there is an Akhmat detachment attacking it. On the east, it's Wagner and inmates mobilized. Position there looks worse than during the First World War. It's all covered in their bodies. At the most modest estimations, the most skeptical stats, the most confirmed and material estimations is about 100 per day. Actually, in reality, more than that, but this is conservative. But they still keep walking. They still keep walking over the bodies of their dead comrades. And the interesting part about that they have two detachments behind them, two blocking detachments that prevent their retreat. So who comprises those blockers? Mostly Russian Guard. They really shoot in the backs of the Russian troops advancing? Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, we see that. So these guys are attacking, they get shot on both sides. This is an interesting one. This very looks like Putin's army. You know, for double blocking detachments, even Stalin failed to invent them. Well, Surovikin figured that's a way to prevent any retreat happening, and yeah, he had a bright idea. Here's an insightful moment, let's double that. And now we have something that looks like battle at Verdun body count-wise, and as a result, they haven't moved anywhere. They have not captured anything. So they can't, Mark. The way it looks like, they gathered half a battalion, for example, throw them in the front. We kill probably 50 of them. They retreat. Half an hour later, a couple hours later, they gather more, throw again, we kill another 50, they retreat again, and that's what it looks like. So I have a question. Ahmad Kadyrov used to be very careful about his troops. Is it these people? No. That's like a second tier Ahmad. These are the ones who were promised same support as Kadyrov troops, but and were conscribed to his detachments, but they don't care about these ones. These are not Chechens. There is a little bit of their own guys to help control that, but the main mass is, the mobilized ones. Yeah, very young ones, right? All right, Avdiivka. Let's look at that one. You can see that settlement blocking the advance of Russian troops at about 3 o'clock, 3 to 4 o'clock on this map in the middle of the red, protruding into it. So Avdiivka is blocking them. Apologies for yawning, it's late. Also, near Marinka, there were some attempts to attack. Both Avdiivka and Marinka were not successful on their side. These are routines, daily, morning, evening, daytime. They're going to another attack, losing some people, and then coming back again next day. That's got to be something said about that manner of war. I understand why Soviet army suffered so much losses during the Second World War. 11 million. My disconnect is why only 11 with that manner of fighting. Because if that's how many people they put for each village, that is something. So in reality, they're nowhere near as aggressive as near Bakhmut, right? These places are weaker. Well, Putin again gave them an order to take Bakhmut and Donetsk region by the end of this month. This is probably the 5th time that he's putting out this order, and sometimes I'm in disbelief that we're discussing that seriously, and that's indeed happening. You know what's important here is that new story with new offensives and new dates and everything. Is that connected with mobilized? Oh yeah, it is definitely connected with mobilized. The way I'm asking is that I want to understand that there are more of them going to perish. Because one thing is if they throw in the front and they just plug the holes with them to defend positions, that's one story. But if they are throwing them on Ukrainian positions, that's a whole other escalation. They're basically, for those who haven't been conscribed yet or who will be eventually, that's what's going to happen with you. You'll be fertilizer in the Ukraine soil. Well, they need to lose all the illusions. There are no cadre military in Russia. They're gone. They have a little bit of them in Kherson and in a couple of places spread around the line, but the main mass is mobilized. They don't have cadre army left. So, okay, let's take a look at Kherson. What's going on there? Both sides are shelling each other. We do it more often and more precise. We can keep counting the blown up ammo dumps, warehouses, and a couple of aggregations of mobilized troops. According to some preliminary data, we just got from 150 to 200s. They were positioned in the open field, and our artillery just covered that area and very effectively. So there'll be more cases like that. Because in Kherson, they managed to transport a notable amount of them too. And increasing density of your army has blowback. It's much more difficult for us to miss. Right, so more of them will perish in a shorter time frame. What real time frame do you have until the real winter in Kherson for active battle actions, or should we not even consider weather and inclements? Weather and seasonality has some effect on military actions there, but not so much in terms of temperature. It's mostly rains that preclude anything. Because when it gets cold, if anything, it becomes easier for equipment, for armor to go over in the fields, and even infantry can move better. But if the rains start, then this whole area stalls. Let me take a look at the forecast. Only on Sunday we'll have some rain. So those who've been watching weather forecasts closer, they're saying there are probably a couple of weeks until rains hit. And now both sides are aggregating resources, and they're in a race to see who does it first. And this cannot continue forever, so there'll be one day soon when I'll say, okay, there is another motion in Kherson starting. I have a feeling that for the next few days, or maybe even a week, we'll have to be saying something like, well, the front line is similar to yesterday. Not many things happened. We don't get Kharkiv offensive daily as we liberated that whole part of Kharkiv region. All right. Those who are with us on this Monday, please continue clicking the like button, continue sharing it. We already have over 300,000 watching us. Send links to that stream in Telegram and other messengers. I do get a lot of messages in my direct email from people who are mobilized, who are sending some videos and their friends, leaking some information. So yeah, send this to them. Maybe that'll save them. Maybe that'll save their lives. Now today, another attack of drones happened on Ukraine. Iranian drones again attacking civilian targets. Putin loves that. He actually, among the victims, was a pregnant woman, and yeah, it's a sad attack, but that's what Putin enjoys doing. And by the way, Mark, there is another attack on Kiev. Is it drones? Yeah, it is drones. They send drones for the third time from Crimea. Hey, from Crimea, that's a long distance, so they're pretty capable in terms of distance. Yeah, they can fly for 1,000 kilometers easily, and if the wind is favorable, then they can even go further, because they're basically a one-wing structure, so yeah, they're pretty effective. Before that, we had a second wave. We shot them all down, all 16 of them. Third wave, according to preliminary data, yeah, we hope we'll shoot them down. They're working this now. Overall, in our today's stats, we reported 62 drones. According to preliminary analysis, we shot down 36. First wave, 28 were shot down, 5 came through. Second wave, we shot everything down. Now we have about 8. Let's see how many of them get through. But it does have a very uncomfortable side to that we need to talk about. It results in us wasting our missile stockpiles much faster. Air defense missiles, right? Yeah, the ones that we use to shoot the drones down. 68 per day. So they launched the first volley of drones. They oversaturated our air defense. We shot them down. And then after that, on the heels of that offensive, they shot another 16. And we managed to get rid of the second wave too, but most of it. But the problem is that we are starting to use our air defense missiles much more intensively. And in general, it's a rather stupid situation where you have to use missiles against drones. Much better, much more effective weapon would be Zenith Artillery, Rheinmetall and these companies. So that's a question to our allies and to see if they manage to scramble and help us a little. You think they'll react? Because I think it's a little easier with the Zenith Artillery. Yeah, it's not too sophisticated since we already have missile defense. This is actually a lesser, not even an escalation. But if you have, for example, 4 or 5 batteries that shoot down those 15 drones, that's much cheaper than shooting 15 missiles at them, because drone costs a certain amount of money and missile is definitely more expensive. So they found some kind of key to our air defense, and they're making us waste our ammo on these drones. According to our data, we estimate they have 2,400. So the first one was much smaller. The first shipment was small. The second shipment was definitely a big one, so they have a lot. If they have indeed 2,400 at 100 drones per day, that's intense. That's an intense month. And if we live through a couple months of attacks like that in that regime, we definitely need Zenith artillery protection. It's a very principal matter. Do you think that'll get resolved? We'll see, maybe. Hard to tell. Okay. Let's approach it from a different direction. Should Iran be brought to question on this? Because publicly they deny supplying drones to Moscow, but it's obvious that they are supplying drones. And Western media are starting to publish even more data saying that maybe Iran even is going to supply missiles to Moscow, some kind of missiles. Well, probably too early to talk about missiles, but indeed, if they do supply their ballistic missiles with 500, 700 mile radius, that'll be a bit sad for our front. How do you think that can be countered? Well, there are a couple countries who can destroy the warehouses and supplies in Iran, Israelis and Americans. But would they start a war with Iran to prevent them from supporting Russia? Well, we're just discussing that, right? But yeah, that's a big question. Do you think Saudis and other countries in the area have enough resources to destroy Iranian production? Well, theoretically, yeah, they do have aviation. But it means that will result in a big war in the Gulf. Are they going to start a big war in the Gulf for Ukraine? Do you think America can? America could. Yeah, America could hit the targets in Iran, but are they ready for a big war in the Gulf or even an air operation? So you think if the missile hits the factory, that'll cause war in the Gulf? It might cause a certain response from Iran, and they'll probably be attacking American military installations in the Gulf. I remember when Soleimani was assassinated. Yeah, it was not too long ago. It was December of the 20th. So I don't know if Israel, Saudis, and United States will jointly attack Iran manufacturing sites. I don't know. That's a too far away proposition. Perhaps a much more effective one and easier to organize one would be to pull from a nuclear deal with Iran. Because Iran is violating everything they can. And by the way, Europe is taking certain stance on that, because Borrell mentioned that they are gathering proof, they're gathering material, verification, they're gathering elements of the shot down drones, and they need to verify that, okay, this is indeed Iranian production. And they will respond with a certain type of sanctions to Iran. That's what they said. So right now the diplomatic situation between Ukraine and Iran is almost nil. We just left a bare bone diplomatic structure system. We don't have full diplomatic representation between each other, even though Iran is claiming to be neutral. They're also starting to supply Mujahid 6. This is similar to Bayraktar UAV, and this is a rather significant threat, and it's a systemic problem for the front, for us. All right. What if we consider that the terms of this deal, and Iran indeed went for that escalation, if indeed Moscow promised to give Iran some nuclear technologies, nuclear weapons technologies, which can be deduced. I'm not saying this is exactly what it is, but this is a pretty obvious deduction from this situation. And then motivation of Israel and allies might increase. Well, yes, but Israel will probably be hitting not the drone production, but the nuclear targets. So this is a big question. Do you think drones can exchange the balance of powers on the front? I'm not talking about infrastructure. They can keep attacking the infrastructure, we understand, all the time. But what about the front? In that significant number, if they send 1,000 on the front line, yeah, we'll feel it. Ukraine, after Kharkov's success, our collective subconscious started feeling that the war is far away again, and we got our version of internal public contract that the army is fighting over there, and we are prevailing and everything is peachy. But no, I think we're entering the second phase of this war when the enemy figured a few ways to try to break our defense. And they're saturating their troops with mobilized people who even, shoot in the air, but they still exist and they still are present on the front. And we're getting to the second phase of the war. The general big phase, obviously the first one was also comprised of different stages, but the second one is going to be significant. It will require us to mobilize both militarily, psychologically, everybody who helps us, volunteers and organization people supplying different items and ammo and all. So we all need to be ready for that psychologically, because we are still mobilizing more people to the front. And that's back to the question, are we letting people out of the country or not? Well, once again, if they throw 1 million Russian mobilized troops on the border, on the front line, we will need to mobilize more to counter that. Yeah, the dramatic side of that situation is obvious. Another question is, Western allies can call this problem if they do manage to supply all these systems that we talked about. Zenith artillery systems to fight drones and other measures. Why don't they do that, you think? So far, they are working not in the extraordinary mode, but in the planned mode. So we do have plans, and they follow the plans. However, right now with new developments, the numbers we have in these plans are not enough for resolving the current issues on the front. We definitely need to review these plans and multiply military supplies, including that if we need to mobilize more troops, we'll even need more clothes, helmets, machine guns, rifles. With that, I think it'll be easier. But both us and Western allies need to realize that Putin's regime figured a few ways to make our life more difficult, and we need to be coming up with a practical, real answer. Because we've been waving, saying, hey, we'll take Svatova, we'll take Kherson. They are precluding us from doing that with the current developments on the front. So it is not so simple. All right, we've been live for 25 minutes. Almost 500,000 are watching us. Over 150 of you clicked, 150,000 of you clicked the like button. It always happens in portions, so whoever just joined, do not forget to subscribe to Feygin Live, to Olexiy Arestovych, and to the privateer station. Let's talk about the jet that fell in Yeisk, one of the SU jets. So I'm trying to understand what happened. It's been just recently. SU-34 civilian pilot? Yeah, that's what I'm reading here. I don't know if he was a military pilot before. I'm not sure what he was doing behind the controls, but I'm seeing some news that the pilot was a civilian pilot. So the plane hit the multi-story building, pilots ejected, 4 reported dead so far. There is even a conversation between dispatch and the pilot of that jet at 1803. Don't get it. What they have? Oh yeah, that's an impressive dialogue. Who misunderstood and who is a bitch, as he called. I think it's a normal situation. The plane is screaming, we're falling, and dispatcher says, Roger, striking you out. After which the pilot clarifies, WTF? Yeah, that kind of happened. It's a meme, yeah. I don't think this is a real intercept. I think it's somebody concocting that audio on the fly. They might accuse Ukraine of doing it. How? We sent a dove from a bacterial or biolab? Yeah, you probably sent one, right? Oh, there is a meme with me about this situation. Besides 2-3 weeks, I'll show you. I'll send you. Okay. If Kostya can bring it up on the screen. Alright, well, this happens. Let's talk about the dessert, about Girkin on the front. The theme that makes me feel cozy, his presence on the front. So he was, I don't know if he was sent or he volunteered, but he is either in command or we don't know the details, what rank and what position is of him on the front. And thing is, Ukraine side has a reward for capturing that character, and different parties are adding more money to that reward. So the question is, do you think it's real? It's possible to capture him? Or do you think it's more of a trolling situation? Mark, in reality, we can only capture him probably if we have something similar like Kharkov counteroffensive when we liberated a lot of territory. If he would be sleeping and we just surprise them. I don't think he'll surrender. I think he'll suicide himself. You can treat him and consider different things about himself, but he's still a rather brave character. Even if he is not a big wig there, if he is just a head of a battalion, he'll still be maybe, a couple kilometers from the front. Oh, by the way, we're showing that meme that you sent. What does it matter? You on a parachute? Oh, as if you were piloting the plane and you ejected. It's in foul taste because civilians died, but yeah, that's what our meme sphere is posting now. Well, civilians are dying daily on both sides. But still, Mark, civilians are civilians. I don't really feel joy over the bodies of fallen enemies. Yeah, we're not showing any joy. We're just expressing the regret. Yeah, regret is a normal emotion in that situation. So I want to say that official reward is 100,000 for Girkin, and then there are also volunteered additions to that. I'm thinking if he is ahead of any kind of command, the only way he gets captured if we somehow manage to do a second Kharkiv operation and surprise them. Plus, Girkin, he has been fighting before, he knows how to, and chances are he'll find a way to, go in the forest and sneak through the front line back to the Russian territory. I think his risk is higher on the Russian side. There is a higher chance for him to just get shot there by his own people. And the problem of these personalities on the front, that it's much easier to get rid of him on the front line than in Moscow. And, situations happened. For example, it could have been artillery shelling and the body burnt and there's no remnants left. Go figure. Or he went to take a leak at night and then in the morning this was discovered, shot in the bushes. So who did him? Probably Ukrainian diversion groups, right? So he's a risk taker just to go to the front with all the controversy about his positions and statements. Well, yeah, and we don't know if he wanted to go himself or he was sent, because he's officially a colonel of FSB, right? He knows quite a bit. What's his patronymic? Ivanovich? Yeah, they probably told him that, Igor Ivanovich, you have to. And you have to go and help motherland. They could have sent him, to inspire troops. Well, yeah, but then he would need to be more effective on the media. He should appear in the interviews. I'm on this part of the front. I'm heroically fighting with Ukrainian fascists or enemies, however he calls us now. And soon we'll win, and our Iranian drones will prevail. And we'll conscribe another 1 million, and we'll win everything. So, what's your conclusion? Do you think it's still a PR, or does it some kind of adventurism? Mark, I always thought they're idiots when people go to do PR on the front. Oh, not his personal, military command. Well, maybe. But again, it's an easy way to get rid of him, an easy way to lose him. Because, a missile doesn't care if it flies, it hits, or, you can step on a landmine or anything. In any case, Mark, there are some people on the Ukrainian side that I don't exactly appreciate, but whenever they go onto the front and go fighting, I would never say they went there for PR purposes, because in a high-intensity war, you're not really in control of situation. In a small-intensity war, yeah, you can do stunts like that, but in a high-intensity warfare, a drone, a HIMARS, or artillery, or Iskander, Dochka, anything can fly and fall near, and there goes your PR. And then landmines, friendly fire. There's a ton of opportunities to get killed real fast. If it was Russian side, I would expect them to do a media campaign around him, but I don't see that. That's logical. Interesting. They are writing also that 3 people dead and 12 wounded in Yeisk. As more data pours in while we do the stream, I think this number will increase because people are dying in hospitals. Today, after the drone attacks, we initially had 1, and then there were 2, then 3 dead. And remember that 11-year-old boy who was dug from the ruins? We celebrated that he survived, but he died later in a hospital. On the good news, we actually had a good exchange of prisoners of war today. We liberated 108 female prisoners from Russian captivity, and among them was a mother, was a doctor who was fighting in Azov Steel. Remember, we supported the family of a little girl whose mother was captured by Russians. So yeah, I remember that. So today we brought her back, and they reunited. The family reunited. I'm trying to remember her grandpa or grandma in Poltava or somewhere. It's been a while ago. Well, I'm glad it happened. It's good that mom and daughter reunited. This is definitely a good highlight. All right, yeah, they're writing 110 were exchanged for these prisoners. We, on the Ukrainian side, we returned them some seamen and some DNR and LNR fighters, actually. And how did we end up having their seamen here? Well, Zelensky, when the war activities started, there were some of those arrested on our territorial waters. And that was the first signal that I was surprised. I always considered that Zelensky was not going to confront Russia effectively, because most of our presidents started with appeasing Putin's regime. And he was, again, criticizing our corruption and sometimes using Russian funds. But he did arrest early on some of the Russian ships, even before the military affairs, when there were violations. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. But now we're using them to bring our ladies back home. Yeah, these are the sailors that were captured back in 2019, right? That was when Zelensky was just starting. I think these are the only ones when we had seamen arrested, because sailors, yeah, there were no other days when we got any of their ships. So that is basically his first month in the office that he started with this. That's what surprised me. All right, let's also touch upon Belarus, because our best friend keeps doing some wild statements from up north. I mean Lukashenko. That look as if they're trying to prepare for provocations, and in general, I want to say that the situation is rather strained on the border, right? It does look so, but we need to understand that he needs to maneuver. So he needs to make sharp statements that would be liked in Kremlin and appreciated by the group in Russia that supports Putin. And basically, the louder he is, the lesser activity is going on. So we can be somewhat calm about that as long as he's screaming. The other thing is that they got some tanks, 100 tanks and 100 artillery units. 170 tanks and 170 artillery units. Yes. Yeah, no. Why? Why is it so interesting? Usually it's a different proportion. So for the group of tanks of 100, you need probably double, 2.5 times artilleries. Hang on. Oh, I hear sirens. There is another attack. So if that happens, there'll be a question. Why are they violating the proportions? So probably not 100 tanks, but 100 armored vehicles and tanks. What they're doing, they're creating another group up north that, and I'll repeat again, under certain conditions, not today, tomorrow, or in a couple of weeks, not soon, but they will be aggregating a group up north, and they'll be threatening Kiev. And under certain conditions, they may throw them into the front, into the fight. They will fail to realize any advantage on this front, but they will create a certain group of problems for us. So you think they will send somebody? They'll cross the border? I'd say 50-50. They will either do it or not. If I was Putin, I'd probably do that, because that matches his perverted logic. But while they're aggregating, that'll be at least middle or the end of November, and then you need to prepare them. So they'll think, launch it in winter? Why the F not, right? Oh, yeah, right. Remember, they did attack Grozny in Chechnya in the new year, one of the campaigns. So, yeah, they could do it. There'll be more dead mobilized people. Yep. All right, we've been live for almost 40 minutes, 520 something thousands watching us live, over 170,000 click the like button. So last question for today. All these wailings about peace talks, given that G20 summit is approaching on Bali, and any perspectives in that frame? I think in that framework, he is creating the most favorable conditions for himself. What conditions if nobody's going to talk to him? Well, he wants to create a situation where Ukraine has the most damaged infrastructure, lack of electricity, where he is not supplying any natural gas or does it to the minimum of natural gas supplies to Europe. Perhaps get recaptured some parts of the front, or maybe offensive in Kiev. He's an idiot, right? He can actually connect it with the G20 summit to create a stronger negotiating positions. You know, this is dangerous. What if it fails immediately? Well, he can start it on the 15th or 16th. It will not stifle in 2 days. We'll need some time to work on them to destroy. So you can see his position. He is using force to overwhelm logic, and he doesn't care about the price. So he is one of those players in a casino who usually take their shirt off in casino trying to bet everything they have and eventually win. But these are the ones who usually lose majorly. Yeah, he of course will lose. It's the matter of the price of question. The price may be pretty high, and it may require more effort from us and the partners. We can, for example, we might need to endure another offensive near Kiev, and part of us might need to take arms and go to the front. Probably. And this war may last a bit longer than we expected initially, and with the higher price tag. But he is going to lose, guaranteed. So he's probably the character, though, that he'll be wasting everything, you know, like that guy in a casino. House, car, housemaids, wife, children, everything is going to be bad. Yep. We'll see how that unfolds. We'll see how he'll walk that curvy road. As Mao Zedong said, our path is winding and treacherous, but we're winning at the end. Yeah, he is not going to win. But, by the way, going back to Xi Jinping's statement, he's saying we need a bipolar world. So not with multiple centers of power, right? It's a world with two centers. So I have news for you, Vladimir. China, in a two-pole world, definitely doesn't need a nuclear war. So when China asks Vlad to not do nuclear war, that'll be stronger than if the West will say the same. If Paris gets erased from the face of the earth, it's one thing, right? But in China, they have 1.7 billion and nuclear weapons. That's a good enough argument to stop even Vlad and just stop in his tracks dead. So I want to tell you a story about the cultural values in China. To wrap it up, when I was visiting Beijing and the prohibited city, I had a guide from university, a girl who worked as a guide. So she was born in China, she lived in Beijing, she graduated from the university. If you were there, it's a huge structure, complex of buildings, big gates, and I was looking around. Many of them are wooden. And I was looking at that thinking, how are they still here with years, right, in that city? And she's saying, oh, we replaced them. They're being restored. Oh, you mean like they carefully restore everything? No, no, no. We just replace the whole wall. We just put a new one in. That's how we do it. We don't. I'm still insisting. Hey, you probably restore to match the paint and everything. No, no, we don't. Everything gets it deteriorates eventually, and we just replace portions of it. It's not restoration; it's rebuilding. Whenever things break, we just put a new one in. So I also went to the Great Chinese Wall, and as I was walking there for pictures, she mentioned that they are planning to rebuild the wall. And I was surprised. I was like, why are you doing that? Why you can leave it crumbling? It's historical heritage. And she just doesn't get it. She's like, no, why? It's got to be a wall. We'll build a better one. So China has got interesting cultural tunes there. Instead of a forbidden city, if it starts deteriorating, they'll build 10 more. So if anything happens, they'll just build another city. They don't care about nukes and stuff. 530,000 people watching us today. We've been 45 minutes live. We have another stream tomorrow, right? Yes. Okay, we, by the way, did find the girl from Nikopol, her relatives. To her mom and sister, we transferred the usual grant money. And those who wrote us and gave the contacts, thank you so very much for connecting us. The family is in Lvov now, and they're undergoing preparations for more surgeries, and the girl is going to be taken across the border. Kiev administration is already working, and we're not even participating in that system. Indeed, the girl had an amputation, but I think they'll be doing all right because they are being taken care of. We will have new designs in our merch store for our project, charity project Feygin and Arestovich. We'll have some new designs, and we'll make separate pictures. We'll have separate ones. Feigin is separate of Arestovich, together with ones where we're both on the same picture. So we can satisfy any demand, and you guys please come in, spend some money, and we'll use that to help families and people who suffered during that war. I actually ordered a mug for myself. If I do like it, I'll order it. If you want to get something, should I get another cup with Feigin and Arestovich? Oh yeah, I ordered one. I'll be drinking different things from it. I like T-shirt with us. If I was here, it looks good on you. If I was here in a T-shirt, I would. Yeah, that'll be an overkill. I'll be an idiot with his own picture on the T-shirt. Oh, you mean just like me with my own picture? Well, Kiev is different culturally. Here where I am, it's a little different. Yeah, in Ukraine, people like interesting stuff. Here, yeah, I won't wear myself. A picture of myself. But, people and users are sending us pictures. Some ladies send us photos in the T-shirt. Yeah, Mark on the left, breast, Olexiy on the right. Yeah, something like that. Okay, see you tomorrow at 10 p.m. and we'll discuss what we have not today. Have a good evening. Tag later. Bye, Olexiy.